to cater to binge reading. A book you can go through while you're having your tea. You can give it to your, a teenager daughter, teenager son who can start reading this book. It is basically a murder thriller, but that is set in the background of a Regency estate. West Bengal, as you know, has a lot of princely estates even today. During the years of British era, a lot of estates got their, princely status, and they still maintain that colonial structure, that colonial system in their estates. Mostly the North, the North Bengal tea gardens, they have this colonial estates present still in there. So this particular story is about a princely estate where two princes. They are all, women of men of the present era. So they have studied in London. They stay in London. They work in London. But their father is still running that estate in India. And then suddenly a mystery unfolds itself. A lot of murders start happening, and they link it to some curse that was once put on by some godmen in some other era. Now, India, as you know, also has a lot of convictions and thoughts about these curses, and there a lot of belief in godmen. They can cast curses, they can bless you and stuff. So they start believing that this is the curse that is unfolding itself. And then there is this lady, the protagonist. I am a feminist at heart, so the protagonist mostly in my books are female. So this lady, she is a physicist. She is also from London. She is an Indian, but she is a physicist in London. So she is a family friend, and she chances upon this particular incident, and then she actually helps to bust this web of lies, and finally the mystery is resolved. They catch the murderer, and there's a happy ending. So that's all about it. I have always been a lover of Mills-Edmund romances, a lover of all the thrillers that I've read in my younger days. So this is just a concoction of all that.
So tell us about your journey to date. What made you write this book?
The journey has been a very, strange one. When the lockdown struck, as you people already know, and Shesha said that I'm a corporate professional, so I've had a 20-long year in telecom profession. Currently, I'm in a leadership role with one of the leadership telecom companies. So I usually never had time to, write. I had always been a voracious reader. I used to read everything, and even I could, read through the paper that used to, cover stuffs. So I used to tear them off and read it through. So I was that kind of a voracious reader. I started penning my thoughts when I was in class 3, and it used to get published. So people used to say that I have it in me, but I never gave it much thought. Now I used to write. Whenever I had time, I used to pen certain things. I had very less time, so whatever I used to pen, I used to keep in a diary. So when COVID struck, and all of us, we were forced to stay indoors and work indoors, and we were all working 11 hours a day almost by working at home. So that is when I started really thinking about it. Why not turn this negative period into a positive one? I collated all the stories and sent it to one of the publishers, and then, as you said, the publisher actually stunned me by accepting that manuscript, and after that I really thought that I really have some, alternative profession as an author. I also do not think I will always continue working. You cannot work in a corporate world throughout your life. It is a very high pressure job, and it's already 20 years that I'm working in a telecom industry. So I also plan to retire soon, and then possibly I'll take up writing as a full-time profession. Till that time, this will be my passion. This is something which actually gives me a window to vent out my frustration.
Well, that is great, but how did you do it? I mean, during the pandemic days, we worked for like 11 hours, more than the 8 hours span. And how did you manage to be a corporate professional and a writer at the same time? And a mother as well.
Yes, I'm a mother, and my son is 15 years old, so he's about to appear for his board exams this year. Yes, I have got multiple facets in my life, but then how I did it is, as I said, is a very strange, turn of events. I used to sleep only for 2 hours in a day, I was that dedicated to complete this manuscript. The moment they said that they are ready to do it and I should, as a gentleman said that you should give in your first draft. So they had accepted that first draft and then they had asked me to finalize it. I used to sleep only 2 hours a day and I completed that manuscript. That was an anthology collection. I'm a bilingual author, by the way, so I write both in Bengali, which is my mother tongue. It is a collection of 7 stories of all kinds, that those stories were written at different points of my life. Possibly I had scribbled out the outline, but I started writing, developing the stories at that point in time. And the book was published in some 6 months' time from the time I took up that project.
Well, that is very much commendable. So, what was your character building process like?
Every author, I think, they take inspiration from real life. And of course, they get inspiration from the characters they have read. So I write both, pastiche literature, which is basically inspired by the famous characters that we have read in our younger years. And I also take inspiration from the real life incidents. So I'll just take example of one of the stories in my very first book. We all are aware of that particular incident of the mother and the daughter, Sheena Bora and Petal Mukherjee and Indrani Mukherjee. So that particular story had inspired me to write one of my thrillers in that book. So basically, like every other author, I take inspiration from the nature, from whatever I see. I took a lot of inspiration from the people I met today, in fact. And then, it just happens. Once you start writing, it just happens.
So it's quite a small book, and The Web of Lies, a legendary mystery, seems like a thriller.
Yes.
And also you have suggested that teenage people should read it. So what kind of message did you want to convey in the book, and do you think you did a good job with it?
I think I did a fair job because I had actually wanted to write a binge novel. Of course, I have written a lot of other genres as well. But this time I wanted to write a binge novel purely because I have seen the attention span of youngsters are very small these days. I see my own son, the moment you look at the size of the book, they're very happy reading Harry Potter, but then that's a masterpiece. So, but then when they are given any other book, their attention span actually wavers. So I wanted to, this is a 25,000 word book, so not a very small one, not a very big one. You can term it as a novella. So I wanted them not to feel bored while they read it. And as I said that I'm a feminist at heart, so all my protagonists are usually women. So I wanted to show a lot of women empowerment in this book. And if people read it, my readers would be able to say whether I did justice to what I wanted to say. But then what I meant is women are equally capable, equally sharp, and women can actually also be, great detectives. It's not only the men or the Feludas or the Sherlock Holmes of the world. We also have Miss Marples around.
So do you have any favorite line that you would like to read from the book?
See, this is a thriller, so it's very difficult to read one portion. It will not make much sense to the people who would listen to it, but I'll go through the gist of the book. Possibly the rest of it, people can find out if they buy it. It is there on Amazon, and you people can also find it, in my own author's page. So I'll just go through the gist of it. Princess Marriage. When the murders strike their lives, references are made of a curse once cast by an evil tantric. But who would believe in this century that a curse is taking its toll? Indradev, the crown prince, and Riti, a lovely young physicist, is convinced that it is a crime enacted to frighten the Veer Chandrapur estate. The question is, who is behind the scene of crime and what is the ulterior motive that is driving the criminal? As Riti and Indradev try to delve deep into the investigation themselves, the estate gets ready for the upcoming celebration and romance buds between the two unlikely people. Will the web of lies get exposed, or the same shall remain unresolved mystery yet again? Find out from my book.
So before we wrap up with Yuki Otra as well, so do you want to tell what is the book about?
It is a mythological thriller. It's in the making. So I would just keep it at that. Let me complete it. A lot of research is required to write that. But yes, that would come out with Kyoto only. And one of my books are also getting made into a short film very soon. So possibly, as I said, in another 5 years' time, the corporate self of Tulika Majumdar will take its leave. And that's what my pen would be my life.
So my last question to you, I think by this time you know the question, then what advice do you have for the writers here?
Writers, I don't think I'm a writer myself, as everybody knows, I'm a very humble person by nature. But then, yes, anybody who aspires to write, I have a few lines to tell them. Never give up on your dreams. If you really want to write, do write. And as a lot of people before me also said, and treasure them. One day you'll find the right person who will actually understand the value of your writing, and from there there's no looking back. So never give up on your dreams. You can dream, and then only you'll achieve your goals. That's all.
Well, Tulika is all set to make a mark in the minds of readers as a bilingual author. Also, watch out for her next novella in English with UQ Publishing House. And thank you so much for your time. And you can check out or purchase Tulika's book, which is on display right here. And thank you all once again.
Thank you so much. They are on Amazon as well. Please read my book. Thank you.